Yeah.
It's really, really hard to understand anybody if more than one person talks.
Okay, so my name is Jolie Namarembo. This is the voice that you're hearing. I'm with RST and I'm the development associate. Sadly, you won't be able to see us until after, but I'm just going to kick off the presentation and I'm going to hand off to Jennifer. For some of you who are familiar with the work that we do, Refugee Services of Texas, we're the largest resettlement agency in Texas. So you think of other agencies, familiar in Houston, I'm not going to name them, but we do very similar work in them. But we were founded in 1978, so we're very old, very Texas rooted. We started in Dallas, and now we have several offices in other states as well.
Now moving forward.
So, like I said, we are the largest resettlement agency. We're social services, so you think of the basic essentials and then everything from there. And here's our mission statement for everyone who doesn't know it. We're guided by the principle of human compassion and dignity. A lot of the work that we do dignifies a human, being, and we want to respect our clients. So Refugee Services of Texas welcomes refugees, immigrants, and other displaced peoples, and we support them in integrating them in their new thriving communities. So who are refugees? Refugees, people have their own definition of what a refugee is, but here's the correct definition. A refugee is someone owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership of a particular social group, or political opinion, is outside the country of his own nationality and is unable to or owing to such fear is willing to avail himself for protection of that country. So in short, someone who is persecuted for different reasons, and various reasons are stated, and for whatever reasons that fear, they can no longer live or exist in their own country, in their home country. And so the refugee journey. So people who are not in this work just assume refugees, you're displaced, and then you just show up in your new host country. And that's not how it works. This journey is very lengthy and it's very time consuming. So basically you start the refugee journey. So for example, for me, you flee from your country of origin and then you end up at a refugee camp. And some of these camps are owned by UNHCR. So basically they provide you food and, some type of housing, but it's not really like equitable or, it's not nice housing, but you are there in the meantime and you're going through the application process. Some of these application processes take 10 to 26 years. So imagine you're a refugee, you're in a refugee camp for basically most of your life, and then you get to go through that final application process. And then from these, you decide what country you want to live in. If you have family in Canada or family in Australia, then that's kind of the decision that makes it. If you want to go live, then they send you over there. But it's a very lengthy process. They do testing, they do fingerprints, there's interviews that comes with those. So it's not just a quick and easy process and a year later you're in your host country. That's not how it works. And your application can be approved or denied for various reasons. I know, I can tell a personal story. My uncle, I think he wrote his last name wrong, and from there, his application was automatically denied, and you have to reapply. So just imagine the trauma and the situation that you're in, and a little piece of information that is not correct can either pass or fail you, and it's then you're back at square one. So it's not as easy as we think it is, but it's a very lengthy, very traumatic experience too. You're interviewed and you're expected to share your story, which is very difficult. It's not easy. And of course, there's a trust issue there as well too. And there's a language barrier, a cultural barrier. So it's not a simple process. And then from here, this is kind of where our work shows up. When these families are resettled here, this is where we provide our support and our services. So here are global numbers so people can kind of understand the amount of people who are resettled and displaced. But these numbers are from 2020, so they could be a little off. I know this number, Jennifer told me, is very much higher, so it's not 79.5 million. I think that number has increased over the decade, as you can imagine, the Afghan crisis and the Ukraine crisis. A lot of people are currently displaced. So for refugees, that number is 26 million refugees. And then for internally displaced people who are not refugees, those are 45.7. and then asylum seeker is 4.2, and then your Venezuelans are 3.6. And then a stat that's also very important to keep in mind is nearly half are under the age of 18. So you think of children and teenagers who are displaced and going through that refugee process as well. So these stats are important because it shows kind of the drastic drop in resettlement from the administration we previously went through. So at the height of resettlement, so you think like the most number, it's 2,200,000. And then on average, it's about 95,000. And then from 2018 to 2020, you see that huge drop from 45,000 to 15,000. That means the difference of this number means that those people were still in the refugee camp. They never made it to Refugee Services of Texas. They never made it to their new host country because we know how our previous administration felt about refugees and immigrants. So there was almost a cap on how many people we could resettle, how many people we could accept in our various host countries. And the number that most people are interested in is where are most of our refugees coming from, where are most of our clients coming from. And these are the top countries that most of our refugees come from. So Democratic Republic of Congo, Burma, Ukraine, Afghanistan, and Eritrea. And I want you all to keep in mind that this number is as of 2019. So you can imagine these numbers have increased, specifically with Afghan and Democratic Republic of Congo, where started seeing them back again. And there are other countries that, are not necessarily listed because they're not top, but Armenia, Burundi, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Iran, Iraq. So it's very diverse, but again, these are just our top countries. And then for people to understand context on who are doing the work and kind of like where funding is coming from and the different partners we have in the work that we do. So here are national resettlement agencies, Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, Church World Service, and we only work with three of these larger partners. And I would say most of our funding comes from these partners as well. They provide us the numbers. If they say, hey, RST is going to resettle 100 people, this is where that information is coming from. And they provide us with all of the caseload and things like that. So we're not just directly handpicking people from Afghan and say, okay, well, these are the people that we're going to resettle. There's a system in place, and these are almost the powers that be that determines how many people we're going to accept and what that's going to look like for us. I know this is the number that everyone is interested in, Afghan numbers. So as of October, because our fiscal year ends in September, as of October of 2021, these are our numbers. So we've accepted a total of 391 arrived cases. So those are just cases all around. So you think of Congo, Burundi, it's not just Afghan specifically.
That's statewide, that's not just.
Yeah, this is RST Houston. Just Houston specifically. And then for our APA clients, which is our Afghan clients, a percentage of those was 328. So you think they make up the majority of our resettlement cases. And then 277 of those are APA specific clients.
What does APA mean?
Afghan Paroli. We have to create a separate program for our Afghan clients.
Parolees versus what is the other Afghan? It says Afghan clients.
Not all of them are parolees. There's SIVs, there's different categories for our Afghan clients. And then the non-APA clients are 50, so just refugees, SIVs that are non-APA. And then here are our numbers projecting forward. So that last slide was everything that has happened, and this is basically everything that will happen. So there's a second wave, if you all are unaware, there's a second wave of Afghan, and as of RST, these are the numbers that we're projected to resettle from here on forward. We don't know what those family case sizes are, or how large the families are, we just know how many people we're expected to resettle. So as you can see, the majority of them are Afghan clients, and then we have Guatemala and other countries as well. So we're expected 23 more individuals, and then the case number is 6.
Question, is this for the rest of this year, or when do you anticipate these folks being resettled?
It started in March. It's
March.
starting right now.
Okay.
Basically.
But we don't know when it's gonna.
Okay.
end yet. And it could change as well.
Do you have, are you gonna show us numbers of the surge?
The surge of Afghan or?
Yeah, the surge of Afghans. You had pre-surge and you have post-surge.
So you
How
won't have
many,
the-
how many Afghans are you guys helping since, who have arrived since the fall of Kabul?
This is,
No,
this is the number.
that's fiscal 21.
So it's up until March of this year.
No, fiscal 21 ended on September 30th.
The numbers are from fiscal 21 up until March of this 2022.
Okay,
Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Since October of 2021 until March. So this is just the number from October.
Then they are not really fiscal year 21,
yeah,
because fiscal year 21 ended in
Yeah.
September.
I guess we did label it. But yeah, these are the numbers from October until March of this year.
okay.
I hope that provides better context.
Yeah. Right, but it's past year 22.
And then I'm gonna pass it on to Jennifer, and she's going to go more into detail on who we
Yeah.
serve and the differences between Afghan, parolee, SIV, all that context for you all.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, for those who can't see me. So I am the Community Engagement Coordinator at RST. I'm gonna talk about who we serve and give a little challenge that RST staff members are facing with Afghans, for example. But we also serve asylees. They kind of meet the same definition of a refugee, but they come here with no help. And they are usually seeking admission at a port of entry. We also serve survivors of human trafficking. They mostly come from South America, but also from here in the United States. We serve special immigrant visa. There are people who help the US Army in Afghanistan, for example. And we also created the Afghan AMMPARO because there were a lot, so we needed another department only to focus on them. The refugee, those are the services that RSC provide to every refugees and SIVs or Afghan parolees. So at first, when they come, they go into the reception and placement here. So it's up to 90 days where they get all of the first needs. They create a bank account, they apply for food stamps, other benefits. They get their school and their kids enrolled at school. They have a green card, everything that will help them integrate here in Houston. But after that, they also get the financial assistance here. For bigger families, for example, they are, after the 90 days, they are enrolled in the match grant program, which provide more supports for them. They also receive the refugee cash assistance that is up to 8 months. So those are basically for smaller families or singles, for example. But then they also get enrolled in at school where they get to learn English because most of them don't speak English or don't write English because their alphabet is different. And then the employment department that help them with their resume, their job application and everything for them to be more self-sufficient. And of course, we have the community support. So basically the Afghans that came since last year receive all of those services, but we also have like challenges because most of the barrier, the language barrier, for example, is a challenge, a big challenge because a lot of case managers speak English or Spanish, for example, but the few of them who speak the national language don't speak the dialect one. So it's still a little difficult to communicate with our Afghan clients. And when it comes to enrolling their children at school, it's also a little difficult because they don't know they don't understand all the requirements for the vaccination, for example. They don't know why they have to go through so much vaccination. They also, it's not every client who accept to have their children enrolled at school as well, because it's something new, and I guess, I don't know, they are not ready, or it may be the culture as well, but it's not everybody. And also when it comes to health, they don't really understand how it is so expensive here.
I don't understand.
Yeah. It's very expensive, and by the time they get their Medicaid, for example, they have to wait a little before, etc. And it's something that we usually get a lot of issue with, or even for their dental health. Most of them never saw a dentist, so by the time they come, they always have pain and everything. Parents, children, everybody. And we also had a client who said that for him to receive dental care, he had to travel to Pakistan for that. So those are the things we usually encounter when it comes to our Afghan clients. But for some who speak a little English, those who can communicate, they can find work easily. I think we even hired 2 of them because their English is very good. I mean, it's really good actually. So they are right now in trainings and ready to start everything. But those are what we have so far. We do not know what are their experience, but sometimes they don't really want to talk, especially even with the English barrier. But maybe it's the culture, for example, it's their culture not to talk about anything specific. So it's really difficult sometimes to get their point of view. But of course, those who agree to speak, they kind of let us know what is going on. And yeah, this is basically what we have for refugee and especially Afghan client for now. Yeah.
I have a question before we move on. Why do you have Bilingual Education Institute as the English provider when there are so many other qualified English providers that are also for free? That's something I don't understand. I love my friends at Bilingual Education Institute. I've known them for many years. But there are other organizations that provide English classes, some of them to refugees for free. So I'm not sure why and I tried working with our family. I tried to figure this out. The Bilingual Education Institute doesn't have any more space, but I was told by RST that they had to go to the Bilingual Education Institute. And the other agencies that I contacted said, yes, send them to us. But something, I don't know if you have an answer to that question.
I don't
You don't?
really know.
Okay.
Maybe because it's close to the office. I don't know if some of them are closer to the office, because sometimes we try to look for anything that is close to the office because they don't have a car and anything a bike. They don't know how to ride buses yet. We're trying to help them for now, but the only thing that is coming in my mind is maybe that.
It could be an already existing partnership too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I'm afraid of.
The ideas are always.
Yeah.
Feel free to share those contacts with us too. If
Yes,
you know an institute who can help us, feel
Yeah,
free.
definitely.
He knows them all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Feel free to share.
I looked it up too,
Yeah.
actually. So yeah, we'll have to have the next week.
I will talk to you
Okay.
after we finish.
Those are also services for asylees when nations. So basically, they receive the same service, but they don't receive the match grant service here that was here in the financial one. That provides more support for a bigger family. This is the only service that they don't receive, but basically they receive everything. For survivors of human trafficking, it's a really
There's a big, my understanding is that right now there's a lot of Cubans arriving
Yes. So, for this, the survivors of human trafficking, they receive the same services, but a little longer because their case is really sensitive. So we have special case manager who deal with them. They don't specifically work with all of the other departments just because it's really case sensitive. So, if you want to help, I know we have a welcome team already, but for those who don't have the information, for example, if you want to help, we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. We have the mentorship, which is being a friend or a guide to a family, for example. We have school enrollment, so because sometimes there are like large family of 8 children, for example, they need to get enrolled at school and we don't necessarily have the time to do everything at once. So volunteers usually help us with the school enrollment. We have the front desk assistants, the supplemental English. We have volunteers that are willing to go to their place and teach them basic English. We provide with everything, every resources. We have the airport pickup, home kit delivery, interpretation. Grocery runs. So grocery runs is basically when a family comes, we give every detail to a volunteer and we basically buy food worth like 2 weeks food for the clients. It's a donation. They are willing to do it for clients. We also have a welcome team, of course, and other services projects that we have with volunteers. We have apartment setup, case aid, whenever they need help at the office, they also contact us. We do that, and of course the bus orientation. But what is the most needed for now is the client transportation, because, for example, they need a ride to a job interview, for example, or a ride to a doctor's appointment. Anything that will need transportation because not everyone has a bus card or a car yet. So these are the most needed services. So those are the current donation needs as well. We need sewing machines. This is for just special projects because everybody, the women love to sew. So we kind of need sewing machines, we need TVs, laptops, all of the words are the most needed basically. So we need laptops because as soon as they work, we have a case manager actually that told me that they really need laptops. So usually when you give something to one client, they talk with each other and they all come because we had some bikes donated, and when we gave it to one client, all of them came like, we need bikes. So we don't have bikes for now, and they're like, well, please receive a bike. So it's usually difficult sometimes. The kitchen supplies, the hygiene, main deodorant, so it's going fast, really fast. Laundry detergent as well because they are big families. Toilet paper definitely. And of course, socks and underwear for basically everybody. Yeah. And I know that I didn't add it here, but it's also the bags because it was just recently that we gave out the bags to a few of them, and everybody just came with that bike request.
You guys don't call me.
It was like on Friday.
All I do is give bikes to refugees. Okay, 40 a month, and I don't hear from you.
We'll call you. We will call you. So for any monetary donation, it's Jolie. Her email address is up here, and for any in-kind donations or volunteer opportunity, it's me, Jennifer Alima. My email address is here as well.
And then if you want to support in any other way, of course, always contact the people in Congress. And, we have very good representation in Houston. A lot of our, the mayor's very involved in our mission. So contact whoever, if you have a contact. And And then amplify your voice on social media. Social media is very impactful. Just letting people know you stand in solidarity with Ukraine or you stand in solidarity with Afghan. The work that we do is equally as important as donating and volunteering.
You guys have any questions? Yes.
When you talked about asylees, you said they have basically the same support except for the match grants. So does that mean that they have financial support for only 90 days?
No, they also receive support for the social adjustment. It's up to 8 months. It's the same thing, yeah.
And it's also once they, it's after their case has been adjudicated.
Yeah.
I was
If you
also,
apply, my understanding. Yeah.
okay, okay.
We can talk about that.
This is it first.
Make it so they can see them.
Well, we were just trying to make it so that the camera can.
Yeah, this
show.
is people.
We just,
Oh, okay.
we just close.
There we go.
There we go. Okay.
We're good.
And you have 3
No.
questions in the chat. I just read them and you can answer. It simply said that it's very difficult to understand. Could the person speaking sit closer? I'm having great difficulty. We are so sorry. Can you hear me now?
It's the same microphone.
Hello, anyone? I guess we lost most of them.
Yes.
Peggy is still there in the. Do you have any questions out there, Peggy, in the?
No, I'm having a hard time hearing. The sound is not very good, but I'm enjoying, I appreciate what they're trying to tell us. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we are sorry too.
Hopefully the
Yeah,
presentation.
it's okay though, because I think probably most of the stuff is on the slides and we could see the slides very well.
Well, and you can also listen to the recording. It has been recorded and maybe easier.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, just for future reference though, it helps if people are close to the microphone. It helps if people are speaking slowly.
Okay. Thank you.
But thank you for the presentation. I think I got a lot out of it regardless.
Do you have any questions for us?
I agree. We're learning something each time. It's more, the more we know, the more we understand.
Thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
I was going to ask about the match grant program, just to, you can give us a sense for where that money's coming from and sort of how long it lasts.
It's complicated. But we can explain it.
It's complicated. It's not our department, but where the money comes from, I don't have an idea, but I know it's usually grants, but where is it coming from? I don't know. Yeah.
Basically, we are allocated a certain amount of donations and we have to make up for, we have to match it. So if you give me $10,000, I have to
Yeah.
match that $10,000 with in-kind donation, volunteer opportunities, things like that, to match the amount of money that you gave me. So essentially that's what it is.
Okay.
And the more volunteers, for example, at the end of each month, I have to send volunteer with timesheet because the founders want to see if the community is involved. The more community involved, the more clients will receive as well for a match grant.
Okay.
But it takes a lot of work to match it because some things don't count. So you would assume all things count, but then because it's a grant, and if you've ever had a federal grant, they're very specific on what they consider a match grant. So we could have 1,000 donations, but only 10 of them are considered match grant. So that's where the difficultness comes in.
Okay.
So it's a federal program.
Yeah, it's a federal grant given to us, and then we're supposed to raise all of the money back. So if you donate a bike, for example, or maybe not a bike, maybe a car. If you donate a car, they're gonna say, okay, what that car is maybe $20,000, but that's still a percentage of what you owe us. So where's the remaining balance? And again, that's where the match grant and kind donations, I always say that you don't think they play a part, but they play a part with our match grant.
Well, I will ask for kids and teenagers, are there any particular programs and things that they get fed into, or to get them more involved in their new culture and besides just school or help getting signed up for school?
So actually, this is what I'm trying to do as a community engagement coordinator. It was Ramadan Eid. So what I did is I wanted to organize something because usually for Eid, the kids receive toys. It's like our Christmas. So what I did is I received a lot of toys for them. I invited every kids, every teenagers at the office. We got a classroom, a large classroom where I was able to get also other snacks donations, for example, and I did a party for everyone to celebrate everyone. And after that, I'm planning to have, I know they love particular sport. So I'm just trying to reach out to the community right now, for example. Well, they like cricket, which is a little difficult to find. But for those who love football, for example, soccer, for example.
No.
Well, coming from it's football as well. But yeah, for those who love playing soccer, I am trying to organize activities for everybody. And because of the culture, it's usually difficult to meet boys and girls, especially teenagers. So for example, the sewing machine is something that the women usually love. So it's something that I'm trying to get as well, so we can have teenagers and moms together. And for the younger boys, I'm still looking for other activity to get everybody engaged. We also have volunteers that have hobbies. One of our volunteers loves fishing. He's certified, so he's willing to take clients to fishing classes and everything, provides transportation for clients, and they just go there and fish. And I have other volunteer requests as well for other activities. So this is what we're trying to do to engage our clients' children.
You had a list of donations that are requested and some more so than others. If we had any of those items, who would we give them to? You
Me.
Directly? So we would contact you?
Yes, so basically if it's a very big, it's a large or heavy donation, such as like a couch, for example, usually what we'll do is I'll just coordinate with you. If, for example, you can bring it to the office instead of bringing to the office, I may give you just the address of the client. That would be helpful for everybody instead of just putting it in the office and then transporting it. But it's usually me for every in-kind donations. And any donation, it doesn't have to be specific to the list because everything is going fast. So any kind of donation will be appreciated.
And I assume socks and underwear would need to be new.
Yes.
Package.
Yes, for me.
Just making sure.
Yes, so the other donations, for example, we ask for new or gently used. And even the clothes, when we see it's used, it's something we cannot wear, we should just trash it. Okay.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. Any
Thank
other?
you for your work. It's important. One of your slides said that we have 79 million displaced people around the world. 2020 or 2019 said, for perspective, in 2050, was 62 million. So in 4 years, it went from 62 to 79 million. Imagine what it is now.
In 2020, it was 82.4 million.
It keeps going up.
It's gonna keep going
Keeps
up.
going
So the work is only getting heavier, the load is heavier. And the government of the United States has cut significantly from 90 to 70 to 45 to only 15,000. It's significant.
And I think people think of displaced like wars, but there's environmental issues,
Right.
there's
Right.
famines, and there's droughts, and there's, I always say even we can be displaced living in Houston. If it rains too hard and it floods, where are we gonna go? So
Absolutely.
I always provide that context to people. It's not just people who are far away. It can happen to us, and we can very much be displaced as well.
I guess in that context, is there an expectation for some of the displaced people to be able to go back to their home environment, their home country eventually? Or is it just, okay, we're not, that road is cut off completely?
It depends. As an asylum seeker, you cannot go back to your home country. As a refugee, if you decide, hey, it's safe for me, let me go back, you very much well can go back, if you have the necessary paperwork. But I think depending on what your status is, you yourself may not even have the need to go back because of all the trauma and the things that you've experienced in your home country. So I think it's case by case.
That's why most of the Syrians are in Jordan and Lebanon.
Close.
Close enough, but not too far. You don't want to come halfway across the world.
Congolese are in Rwanda.
Yeah.
I mean, even with Ukraine, you see they're just going to neighboring countries where it's like, if there is peace eventually, I can very much well go back. But when that happens,
So, but usually when it's like that, they are not considered as a refugee. It's
Yeah,
more
they're
like
just
a voluntary process where they just wait, for example, in Poland, for the crisis to be over and then they're going back. But as if they are a refugee, they'll have to register in a UNHCR, for example, and then they are considered as refugees.
very complicated.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Are there any other questions out there in the virtual world? Kennedy, Inda, any questions?
All good.
All good. Thank you.
No questions. Thank you, though, for the presentation.
You're very welcome. We will finish now.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I'm going down to choir.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.